over the years, Waves has created a lot of tools for post-production world, like a news broadcast or a live remote, that are super practical for live sound when we're talking, especially about house of worship market, whether it's a singer or someone speaking with a band on stage, something like that, where sometimes there's just some background noise that we want to get more clarity out of the vocal microphone by trying to get rid of some of the stuff that's happening behind it.
And this one, even though it was designed for field recording and clarity and dialogue and all that, probably originally designed more for a studio or controlled application. When I put this on my live vocal chain, like my live vocal chain, like 10 feet in front of a drum kit and all the stage volume and all that, I am blown away. Like, this thing has become a permanent part of my vocal chain.
Yeah.
So it's worth delving into here.
Totally. So Lee, this is a super complicated interface, as you can see.
Yeah.
We have basically a
ton of
fader
controls.
and a meter.
Yeah.
So what is it doing?
Well, the PDF on this is only 2 sentences.
Okay.
One for the meter and one for the fader. And the fader is how much reduction, and the meter is displaying energy removed from the signal. That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Yep.
So we've got our vocal mic here on my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can even hear in the room how when it's fully suppressed, suppressing everything behind it, in the room it just all goes away.
And they've built into this the way it attacks and releases. Like, there's no control over it.
Right.
It's already built in. It's friendly, and it's exactly the way you would want to hear it.
Super
It's very
smooth.
natural would be
Yeah.
the best way to describe it. Very smooth.
Andrew, you're using this on live vocals with a drum kit behind them.
That's right.
That's awesome.
It's this thing has been the fastest way for me in the moment to deal with a singer. You're trying to really rock a vocal and they drift over, and now all of a sudden they're right in front of the cymbals.
Yep.
You can get to this very quickly, very easily. You don't even have to really think about it and just manipulate that fader a little bit, and no one even noticed what happened. And that's been a huge improvement for just my whole vocal chain.
That's
And
awesome.
especially if their mic technique is good enough, that microphone is hearing the right signal because
That's right.
there's proximity effect and there's good technique, so that when they're not singing, it's just getting the background stuff and
That's right.
taking it out.
It's lovely.
All right, one other big thing that live sound engineers deal with that post-production and studio guys don't: wireless mics and noisy RF.
Okay,
Waves also has some tools to help us with that were intended for post-production world.
great. Yeah, WNS is a lot like NS1, except that there are 6 different bands that you can independently process in terms of frequency range. So I loved your idea of this experiment. So I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to bring the microphone up in the room so we can hear some of that Riz and some of that just RF stuff.
Yep.
Because we're pretty far from the antenna.
Right.
And so it's struggling to keep up in some ways. And so then I'll hit the suggest button, which basically just predicts based on what it's hearing what it needs to do. And let's listen to how it kind of manages some of that stuff.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's without saying
Okay.
a word.
That was great. So a lot of that noise went away, but how's the mic sound? Did that just dump all the high end out when you talk?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, so we've heard how it works on the high frequency stuff and kind of when we're dealing with wireless mics and some of the noise involved there. But let's get into some of the other controls here. This is a pretty fascinating piece. So Lee, walk us through some of this stuff.
Yeah, so we have a threshold. So when, in fact, will this engage and when does it need to listen and actually make changes? Right above that is smoothing, and this is on a scale from 1 to 100. And this is the release behavior.
There, okay.
Slow and fast, smooth and harsh. It sounds different on the far left and will on the far right. And then in the middle, we have the display on the top, and it's showing us white would be how much has actually been suppressed. The blue is the faders, or the position of the faders below. And the crossover section, you can see the band split up there. And then suggest, that's what the microphone is currently hearing. It's giving us a real-time analyzation of what it's hearing.
Right.
So, and then on the far right, we have a suggest button. So when we turn the fader up and it listened to all that RF noise, it was suggesting by the yellow line what to do. We hit the button, and then all of the faders below make those adjustments for us.
And that would have been a different suggestion had I been talking.
Yep.
Because all it was hearing at that time was the room and the Riz from the RF
Right.
noise.
Right.
So
So,
why don't I just do that for a second? So we'll just resuggest with me talking into the mic now. So the mic is in the PA right now. So if we hit the suggest, you'll see the faders move based on what it's trying to get us to do.
okay, so this is a great case for why you want to be really purposeful of when you suggest. If it's to get rid of background noise, make sure it only hears background noise. Like, as smart as the plugin is, it's still dumb and it can only hear what it hears at any
That's right.
given moment in time. So then we've got the crossover section of where the gain control of those frequencies happen, and those are adjustable.
But they're linked.
They are.
So if I go to one of them and move it, it moves all of them.
It does. Then you've got high pass and low pass filters. So if your low frequency is set at 50 and you engage that high pass filter, you now have a 50 hertz high pass filter. Same thing
Nice.
for the low pass filter. We're up above 12K. That'll engage a low pass filter at 12K.
And the low band and the high band basically set the border for where those filters are going to engage.
Exactly. But it'll also change the signal of the input source entirely.
Yes.
So that won't just narrow its focus, that will actually put a high pass and low pass on the full signal.